Well, a Belgian man has been convicted of a dastardly crime. He's being ordered to pay almost $4,000. What did he do? He said something sexist, and Belgium has a law against that. It criminalizes phrases that, quote, express contempt for women. Now that law has been put to use for the first time. Kathy Aru is founding publisher of Catalina magazine. She's our Sherpa into progressive America. She thinks this might not be a bad idea for our country, and she joins us tonight. Kathy, great to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
So you think that we could learn something from Belgium, that maybe we should criminalize sexist speech.
Yes.
Would we also criminalize sexist thought? I'm just trying to get the parameters here.
I would say sexist speech and sexist thought is hateful speech and hateful thought, and people with those hateful thoughts go on to commit hateful crimes. So yeah, why don't we nip it in the bud and stop these guys from continuing to go further and committing violent crimes?
Okay, so we're going to create a new class of thought crime. But you said guys. Would it ever conceivably apply to women? I was watching The Bachelor the other night, which is obviously an hour-long exploitation of women. Hard to think of a more sexist spectacle than that. And a lot of the producers are women. So would they be up for sexism charges in your world?
Absolutely not. You know that women as a minority in this country, even though we are the majority, we're still the minority because white men are in charge. And it's hard to be a sexist and put the majority down when you're still considered the minority. So no, women cannot be sexist. We are the victims of sexism.
But what if you were like Anna Wintour, okay, and you had a magazine wholly devoted to exploiting women's bodies and basically encouraging eating disorders? Because you're a woman, you still would not be sexist?
Well, that's an industry that makes a living off of those things. And believe it or not, the highest paid women in the world are models. So unfortunately, the only way that women could make more money than men are through modeling and through these magazines. So she actually did a favor to women by showing them in these magazines and helping women make more than men. So sadly.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, sadly.
So sexist speech and sexist thought will be criminalized.
Yeah, because it's hateful.
In the Republic of Kathy Aru. What would the punishment be? Would these be misdemeanors or felonies?
Well, I mean, I think these men would move on to commit crimes. So shouldn't we nip it in the bud? Shouldn't we listen to people when they're saying hateful things and get them right when they're saying these sexist comments? And make it a felony. Put them away, make them learn their lesson. And when they come out, they'll be better people. So teach them a lesson.
Maybe they would come out as sad and broken people. Would that bother you?
I don't think well, if they're not hurtful and violent, it would not upset me if they're sad. No. I mean, they're sad, but they're not aggressive and violent. So be it. Yeah.
How would, since sexist thought would be illegal, how would we determine?
Sexist language, not thought, language.
Okay. Can we define sexist? So, like, for example, is it
hurtful to women?
Hurtful to women, right? But all women don't have the same standard for what's hurtful. So, for example, is it sexist to open a door for a woman, or is it sexist not to open a door for a woman? I think
it's a case-by-case basis. I think if a woman is offended, then yeah, it might be the wrong thing to do. So sexism, it's hard to tell, but women who are aware of it, feel it, understand it, and yeah, sexism is alive and well. And those of us who realize it want an end to it. We want to be treated equally.
Right.
So yeah, we have to teach these people that that is wrong. And this person in Belgium did call this police officer, better suited for another job because this was a woman. It was a police officer, and that was sexist. The things he said were awful, and he should be put away.
Well, speaking of, well, it sounds like he's being punished.
Yeah,
finally, I mean, so if we're creating a whole new class of crime, obviously we're repealing the First Amendment and 250 years of tradition in order to do it. But
well,
whatever.
It's Belgium. It's not their amendment.
No, but I'm just saying if it were here, but you know, to make an omelet, you break some eggs. So, but we'd also need to hire a whole new class of law enforcement, obviously, to enforce these laws, kind of like the Saudis do. What would that be like? Where would there be speech police in public places? Could they come into your home? Like, how would you do this?
Well, this country already has it. There are profanity laws. So this country's had laws that are about 100 years old. They're according to municipalities and according to different states. You can't say bad words in public within an officer or a children's earshot. So we already have those kind of laws in this country. So why not reintroduce the profanity laws with sexism laws and move on from words that offend to actions and concepts that offend and that are violent?
What's going to happen to rap music?
Rap music? Well, I think teenagers are going to continue to enjoy it, and parents are going to continue to hate it, and hopefully the rap stars will learn to rap about nicer things and not teach such hatred.
Yeah, they better. They're going to be in Kathy Aru prison.
I'll put them in prison.
Of course, we're rooting for them. Kathy, thank you very much. Good to see you.
No problem. Thanks.
Canadian Prime Minister and relentless apology machine Justin Trudeau is visiting India right now. And sadly for him, it's not going well. Trudeau has embarrassed his country and annoyed many Indians by dressing up in ludicrous Indian national garb, ludicrous on him, and nearly meeting a violent Sikh extremist for dinner. Recently, though, Trudeau also was mansplaining to Canadians that they should not use the word mankind, and a U.S. school agrees. A writing guide at Purdue University, accredited school, apparently tells students to avoid words like mailman and mankind in order to have, quote, non-sexist, non-biased writing. Kathy Aru is founder and publisher of Catalina Magazine, and we think she agrees, and she joins us tonight. Kathy, it's great to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
I got to say, there's kind of a basic irony here. I mean, you're lecturing us about sexism while you're sitting right now in Manhattan.
Manhattan. We need to rename the city then. The Big Apple. The Big Apple would be less offensive. So I feel that I'm sitting in the Big Apple, not Manhattan.
Okay, but why stop there? Why should the post office deliver mail?
I know. Well, it's spelled M-A-I-L, so that's okay. If it's M-A-L-E, then there's a problem.
Homonyms count, and this applies to email too, because it's not about spelling, it's about being gender inclusive. Right. And mail is offensive. We've just learned that. So.
Well, no, I don't think they're including that, but they are saying that society has changed and times are changing, and we don't want to be offensive in our language. And they're trying to be non-sexist and non-biased, and that means trying to take the word man out. So instead of man-made, it would be synthetic. So instead of mailman, it would be mail carrier. So there's many ways to go around it. Instead of humanity, you should say people.
But mail carrier still has mail in it. So you haven't, it's kind of a fake, but that's a judge.
So package carrier. Well, we can come up with so many other terms that are less offensive. Yeah.
You might still offend dyslexics. You can change a vowel, but it sounds the same. It has that dreaded word that sends people shrieking for their safe spaces, mail.
Well, they're saying man. Man is the word that they're trying to avoid. They're saying that the word man is associated with adult men as opposed to just humanity or humans. So they're trying to avoid the word man. So if we can eliminate that word, then things would be much better and people would be less offended.
Well, what if you lived in Manchester, Vermont?
Well, they might have to change the name of the city if people agree with Purdue University. And Purdue University found that things need to be updated, and they updated their writing guide to take out these words that apparently are offending certain groups of people.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand the rule, if something offends somebody, even if you've never met that person personally, you have to change it. So doesn't that mean that a small group of super unhappy people get to control what the rest of us say and think?
Well, perhaps they're ahead of their time. Maybe this is something that is offending a small group, but the group's going to get larger, and times are changing, and our language is dynamic. Webster keeps adding new words in the dictionary, so our language needs to change. And a term that used to be non-offensive, like man-made and mailman, now needs to be changed.
Well, I get that. I guess the question for me is who gets to decide what changes and what doesn't? So, for example, I think I've now decided that the most offensive word in the language is college professor. Okay? Because to me that connotes dumbness and misuse of power and tenure, right? And mediocrity. So maybe I'd like to say no one can use that word ever again in my presence because it offends me. Would that fly? Could I do that? Could I pull that off?
Well, if you have a writing guide, perhaps, and you put that out there and people agree with you, then yeah, maybe that would fly. But Purdue University did find a group that agreed with them, and the university backed them up, and there you have it. They have a writing guide that now is going to teach us how to not offend.
But do you think they have the guts? I mean, it's one thing to bully the little rich kids who go to your school, because, like, what do they know? But do you think they have the guts?
This is the heart of America.
Yeah, no, of course. But if you're paying, like, 60 grand or whatever it is for, like, the fake diploma you get, you know, and you're not working, obviously you have privilege by definition, no matter who's paying for it. But it's easy to boss them around. Do you think they would have the guts to go to Goldman Sachs in New York and say, change your name now or else?
They probably wouldn't shop there. They probably wouldn't shop there because
what if they were shopping at Goldman Sachs? They might come up short because it's a bank.
Because the name man is adult male, and yeah, we need to change it. Like woman, I mean, has the word man in there, so just call us a person.
So gold person Sachs, would that be better?
I think so. I'm less offended. Yes.
And by the way, what if you just, since the rule is if you spell it, and I'll stop with this because I know this is angels on the head of a pin at this point, but if you spelled man differently, like M-A-A, so it was male man, but M-A-A-N.
No,
would
the
you get past
profession,
the
we know
censors?
that the professions usually were male-dominated, and they've changed. So, no, saying male, man, and spelling it differently, that doesn't apply. We're trying to say this profession now applies for men and women or persons, all people. No
Wait,
man
but isn't
needed.
there a man?
No man
hold on, isn't
needed.
there a man in the word woman?
Call me a person. I'd be less offended. No need for
Wow.
woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the end, the revolution always eats itself, as we often point out. Kathy, thank you for that guided tour